Every morning, thousands of diesel owners make one small mistake that ends up costing them big money. It only takes about 5 minutes, but it's responsible for blown turbos, clogged DPFs, and damaged injectors. And the shocking part, around 70% of diesel owners are doing it without even realizing it. This mistake doesn't just waste fuel. It actually harms your engine from the inside out. But here's the good news. There's a simple, science-backed way to warm up your diesel the right way. It not only protects your engine, but can also add years of reliable performance to your vehicle. Make sure to stick around because the biggest mistake most people make doesn't happen when they start the engine. It happens after they think it's already warmed up. Before we get into the right method, let's clear up one important fact. Diesel engines are not like gasoline engines. Gas engines rely on spark plugs to ignite fuel. Diesels don't. They use compression, squeezing air so tightly that it gets hot enough to ignite the fuel on its own. That's why diesels can run rough when cold and take longer to reach their ideal operating temperature. When your diesel is cold, 3 big problems appear. Thick engine oil. Cold oil becomes sticky and moves slowly, creating more friction between moving parts. Cold combustion chambers. When the engine is cold, the fuel doesn't burn cleanly, leaving behind unburned carbon that builds up over time. Poor fuel vaporization. Diesel fuel doesn't vaporize properly when cold, making combustion even less efficient. All these problems combine to cause more wear in those first few minutes of driving than in hours of normal use. That's why the warm-up process matters more than most people think. But here's where most diesel owners go wrong. Now let's talk about the mistake almost every diesel owner makes: letting the engine idle too long. Many people think that leaving their diesel idling for 10, 15, or even 20 minutes helps the engine warm up and prevents wear. But in reality, this habit is slowly destroying the engine from within. Here's why. Diesel engines don't produce much heat while idling because they burn very little fuel at no load. Gasoline engines stay fairly warm when idling, but diesels are different. Their combustion temperature changes depending on how hard the engine is working, or in other words, how much load it's under. When your diesel idles for too long, it's running too cool. That means the fuel doesn't fully burn. The leftover fuel and carbon start collecting in the combustion chamber, the exhaust, and the turbocharger. This buildup is called wet stacking, and it's a silent killer. Wet stacking leads to dirty injectors, damaged turbos, and clogged DPFs. It also keeps your engine oil cold and thick, so it can't properly lubricate moving parts. Even though your engine is running, those parts are still rubbing and wearing faster than they should. Your turbocharger is especially at risk here. Turbos spin at incredibly high speeds and depend on hot, thin oil for lubrication. When you idle too long, that oil stays cold and thick, putting stress on the turbo bearings. And that's not all. Modern diesel engines with emission systems suffer even more during long idle periods. The diesel particulate filter, DPF, needs high exhaust temperatures to clean itself by burning off soot. When your engine idles, the exhaust is too cold for that process to happen. The result, a clogged DPF, expensive repairs, and poor performance. So long idling doesn't protect your diesel. It actually shortens its life. Now let's move on to the correct way to warm up your diesel engine, a method proven by mechanics and backed by science. So what's the correct way to warm up a diesel engine? It all comes down to one simple rule: minimal idling followed by gentle driving. That means instead of sitting and waiting for your engine to warm up, you should give it just a short idle period, long enough for oil to circulate, and then start driving lightly. The goal is to help your engine reach full operating temperature through light load driving, not idling. Let's break it down by temperature so you know exactly what to do. Above 50 degrees, let your engine idle for just 30 to 60 seconds after starting. That's enough time for oil pressure to build and to coat moving parts with lubrication. Then, start driving slowly. Keep your RPMs under 2000 until the temperature gauge shows it's warming up. Between 0 and 50, idle for 2 to 3 minutes. The colder oil needs a bit more time to thin out and circulate properly. Use this short time to clear your windows or adjust your mirrors. Once you start driving, do it gently. Avoid heavy acceleration until the engine reaches normal temperature. Below 0 degrees, idle for up to 5 minutes maximum. Even in extreme cold, idling longer than 7 minutes does more harm than good. After that, Begin driving slowly and keep the load light for the first few miles. Here's why this method works so well. Diesel engines actually warm up faster while driving than while idling. When you apply a light load, the engine burns more fuel, creating more heat. That heat spreads through the oil, coolant, transmission fluid, and even the differential, helping everything reach proper operating temperature much faster. Now, when you're driving during this warm-up period, follow a few key rules. Keep RPMs below 2,000 for the first 5 or 10 minutes. Avoid full throttle or hard acceleration. Don't tow or haul heavy loads until the engine is fully warm. Remember that engine oil warms up slower than coolant, so even after your temperature gauge looks normal, your oil might still be cooler. Those first few minutes of easy driving are crucial for turbocharger health too. Turbos rely on hot, thin oil to protect their bearings, and cold starts are when they're most vulnerable. So keep the boost low and RPMs modest until your engine oil is fully up to temperature. Next, we'll go over smart tools and techniques that make cold starts easier and protect your engine even more, especially in freezing climates. If you live in a cold area, you know how tough diesel engines can be to start in freezing temperatures. Luckily, there are a few simple tools that can make a huge difference in both starting and warm-up time. Block heater. A block heater is one of the best investments for cold weather diesel owners. It's a small electric heater that warms up your engine block, coolant, and oil before you even turn the key. This makes cold starts smoother, reduces stress on your engine, and helps your oil flow faster. Here's how to use it properly. Plug it in 2 to 4 hours before you start your vehicle. You don't need to leave it plugged in all night. That just wastes electricity. You can even use a simple timer to turn it on automatically before you head out in the morning. 2. Battery warmer. Diesel engines require a lot of cranking power because of their high compression ratios. But batteries lose performance in the cold, about 35% of their power at freezing, and up to 60% at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. A battery warmer keeps your battery at a stable temperature so it can deliver full power when you need it most. It's a small investment that prevents weak starts and battery strain during icy mornings. 3. Winter diesel fuel or additives. In freezing temperatures, regular diesel fuel can gel, forming wax crystals that clog filters and stop fuel from flowing. That's why it's important to use winter-grade diesel or a quality fuel additive that lowers the cold filter plugging point. This ensures your fuel keeps flowing freely, even when temperatures drop below 0. These small steps can make cold starts smoother, shorten your warm-up time, and prevent a lot of winter-related engine wear. But remember, it's not just the engine that needs warming up. The transmission and differentials also contain thick oil that's sluggish when cold. Let's talk about that next. Most diesel owners focus only on warming up the engine, but that's only part of the picture. Your transmission, differential, and other drivetrain components also need time to warm up, and idling won't help them at all. When your truck sits idling, only the engine gets a bit of warmth. The transmission and differential fluids remain cold and thick, offering poor lubrication. Then, when you start driving normally right away, those cold fluids cause shock loading, sudden stress on gears and bearings. That's why gentle driving after a short idle is so important. By moving slowly and keeping RPMs low, you're allowing all fluids, engine oil, coolant, transmission fluid, and differential oil to warm up together and evenly. This smooth warm-up helps prevent wear and adds years to your drivetrain's life. For vehicles with manual transmissions, you need to be especially careful. Cold transmission oil makes it harder for the synchronizers to match gear speeds, which can wear them out faster. So during warm-up, shift gently and avoid quick aggressive gear changes. Give your transmission time to loosen up and reach normal operating temperature before driving hard. Once everything is warm, your entire powertrain from the engine to the axles runs smoother, more efficiently, and with less stress. Now, most people think their diesel is fully warmed up once the temperature gauge shows normal. But that's actually a common misunderstanding, and it's the reason many engines still wear out faster than they should. Let's clear that up next. Here's a mistake that almost every diesel owner makes, and it happens after they think their engine is ready. When the temperature gauge on your dashboard reaches the normal range, most people assume their engine is fully warmed up. But that's not the full story. That gauge only measures coolant temperature, not engine oil temperature. And those two are very different things. Your coolant heats up quickly because it circulates through the engine and radiator. but your oil takes much longer to reach its proper temperature. In fact, it can take 10 to 15 more minutes of driving for your engine oil to warm up completely. That means even though your gauge looks normal, your oil might still be too thick to protect your turbo, bearings, and other moving parts. To protect your engine, keep driving gently for the first 15 to 20 minutes, even after the gauge looks normal. Avoid flooring the accelerator or pushing your turbo hard until you're sure the oil is fully warm. Some newer diesel trucks actually have oil temperature gauges or digital displays, which show you when it's safe to push your engine. If your vehicle has this feature, use it. It's one of the most accurate ways to know when your engine is truly ready for full power. If your diesel doesn't have an oil temp gauge, play it safe and extend your gentle driving period. It's far better to be cautious than to wear out your engine early. Once your oil reaches full operating temperature, everything, the turbo, bearings, injectors, and moving parts, can perform at their best with proper lubrication and minimal friction. But there's one last part of the process that most diesel owners forget, and it's just as important as warming up: the cool down period after driving. Just like warming up the right way protects your engine, cooling it down properly after driving is just as important, especially for turbocharged diesels. Here's why. After towing, highway driving, or any kind of hard acceleration, your turbocharger can get extremely hot. If you shut off the engine right away, the flow of oil stops instantly, but the turbo is still spinning at high speed and baking hot. Without fresh oil flowing through it, that leftover heat can actually cook the oil inside the turbo bearings. Over time, this leads to burnt oil residue, worn bearings, and even total turbo failure. To prevent that, you should always give your diesel a short cool-down period before turning it off. Here's what to do. After heavy driving, let your engine idle for about 30 to 90 seconds before shutting it down. This short idle time allows cooler oil to circulate through the turbo and gradually bring down its temperature. If your truck has an exhaust gas temperature (EGT) gauge, wait until it drops to around 300-400 PFAS before shutting off the engine. This tiny habit adds years of life to your turbocharger and saves you from expensive repair bills down the road. So there you have it, the complete guide to properly warming up and cooling down your diesel engine. By following these steps, you'll reduce engine wear, protect your turbo, prevent DPF clogging, and keep your truck running strong for hundreds of thousands of miles. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. You're already ahead of most diesel owners out there.